In the previous class, we have created one file pointer and we have said to open a file. To open a file, what was required? Name of the file was required. Along with the file name, we want in which mode I want that file to be open. I can mention it as R if I just want to read the content. If I want to write the information to it, I will open it in a write mode. Then if I want to edit that one, means append few more information to the existing file, then I will open it in a mode. Then if I want to open in the binary format, read, that time I will set it to RP. Look here, when I want to open a file for read, if I ask you to read a book, what is the meaning? Book has to exist, because I have asked you to read. I cannot read which doesn't exist, right? Similarly, when a text file is to be opened for a read, it means that it has to exist. Okay, if the file doesn't exist, then it will generate a error, because I am trying to read that file which doesn't exist only, right? If I ask you to write information, that time if the file doesn't exist also, you can take a new one and start writing, right? So similarly, when the file is open in a write mode, if that file doesn't exist, what it does? It creates a new one. If it is already existing, the content will be deleted and it will be open as a fresh one. What the meaning of append? The file is opened and the pointer is pointing to the last content of the file, and you can start adding the new contents with the existing one. RB means you are reading a file in a binary format. Similarly, writing the binary file, WB, appending the binary file, AB. Then we have a mode called as R plus, means a file when it is opened, I can use it for both reading as well as writing, right? So the meaning is what? The file will be used for both reading and writing. The meaning is what? The file is read, then will allow you to write onto it. That's why you should be pointing to the beginning of the file. Okay, similarly, W plus means the file is open for both reading and writing. Look here, in the R plus mode also, you have opened for both reading and writing. As I said in the before, when I was explaining you about the read mode, the file has to exist, right? Here also same thing, it reads first, then starts writing, right? R plus is indicating that the file has to exist before you start reading or writing. The remaining modes are A plus, means it is again for both reading and writing, but append, since it is appending, it positioned to the last content of the file, right? So already I have entered around 10 lines of information. When I open in append mode, it points to the last location, so that I can fill the remaining part with the new information. Okay. Similarly, with the binary file, I can say use this particular plus, means binary file is opened for both read and write. Binary file is created for both read and write, and binary file is opened in the append mode for both read and write. We learn them with example. Look here, it is a file pointer. How we identify that it is a file pointer? Because we have used a built-in structure file as a data type here, right? FP is capable of pointing to a file. Now I have said first point is always have a file pointer, right? Then open the file. I said open the file. Which file has to be opened? Student dot that file has to be opened. In which mode? Read mode it has to be opened, right? Look here, Whenever we are using the read mode, the file has to exist, otherwise it raises the error. If it exists, obviously it will give me a genuine file location where that student.dat is present. If this is not present, it will point to a invalid memory location which is identified using the null pointer. That's why if fp is equal to null, file cannot be opened. Right? File, I have a problem in opening the file. Now, what are the reasons for failure of opening a file? One is the file may not be ready for the usage. One more, if I am trying to give that path which doesn't exist only, the D drive is not present in your system, still you have given D slash name of the file, and you have given a wrong file name which doesn't exist only, right? And also you may be trying to access that file for which you don't have a read permission. But as we all know, unless I have a permission to work with that file, I cannot use it, right? These are the reasons for the failure. Next one is, whenever, as we all do, whenever we open and work with our files or the books, next thing is what? We will close it. Similarly, when we start working with the file, we have accessed it, right? We have processed it. The next thing will be what? We need to close it. To close the file, what is required? Function fclose is used. What it requires? It requires a pointer to the file. It closes that file which is pointed by fp. Fclose will close that file which is pointed by fp. Right? So when fp is closed, right? So there is no connection now between fp and student.dat now. Right? In the previous, here I have set the fp to point to the file called student.dat. Now when I said fclose fp, means they are disconnected. Now no longer they are related to each other. So once I close it, I cannot access that particular file. Next one is, whenever the file pointer is disconnected, what happens? Whatever the data was associated with the buffer will be removed. That is, flushes all the content from the temporary memory location which I have used as an interface between my file and my program, right? That the content will be vanished out. One more thing you should keep in mind, if I not use this particular fclose, right, the C program will automatically closes it. The system automatically closes that particular file, but when the program, you are exiting out of the program, then only it will close. But when you know that no longer the file is used, better that you free that particular memory location so that somebody who are in need can access that particular memory. Okay, next one is, I came to know that how I can open the file. Next one is, how can I read the content of the file. For me, that now student.dat file is open now, which was pointed by a pointer called as fp, right? Student.dat file is open. There are so many contents in it, right? Next thing is, how can I read this content, right? How we used to read the information from the keyboard? What were the functions that we used for reading the content from the keyboard? We had scanf, we had getS, we had getch, right? Similarly, to read the content from the file, I have fscanf, fgetS, fgetc and fread, right? These are the functions which will enable me to read the content that is present within the file. We look into it with one example. Okay, so let us start with fscanf. How we used to work with the scanf? That is, if I want to read the content from the keyboard, what I used to write? Enter the name of the student. I used to write percentage yes, ampersand, otherwise enter the name of the enter the roll number. I used to say roll number, that is scanf, what kind of data I am reading, and the name of the variable. If I want to read the name, I used to write scanf percentage yes followed by the variable name. What is required to read the information from the keyboard? I need a format of the data that has to be read, right? Similarly, with the fscanf, what is required is, since fscanf was dealing with the standard input, that is keyboard, no need to mention the name of the input device as keyboard there. Here n number of files are there, right? You should point to from which file you are reading, right? For that one, what this particular fscanf will do is, it will take a file pointer, right, and the format in which you want to read the data. What is required? The file from which you want to read and what are the contents you want to read. Here format means, as usual, followed by the percentage sign, right? You will mention the width, the modifiers, and what kind of data type, what kind of information you want to read. Everything will be present in the format specifier. Look here, I have opened a file called as student.date in the read mode. I have opened the student.date file in a read mode, and what is present in the student.dat file? I have set of students name, I have set of student names and their roll numbers, right? What is present in the student.dat? I have a name followed by the roll number. So I want to get the information, right? Look here, stdin means from the keyboard you are reading, started input device it is percentage yes because it is a string, percentage d because it is a int value. Okay, so what are those variables that you want to read? Name and roll number, name and roll number. Similarly, if you want to get the information from the file, what is required? Standard, not the standard input as keyboard, but from the file. From the file, which file the fp is pointing to? Fp is pointing to student.date, right? What information you want to read? Name and roll number. Name is string, and roll number is integer. This is how you read the information with the fscanf. This is how I can read the information from the file. To read the information from the file, what is required? A file pointer, the format of the data that I want to read, and what are the content that I want to read are required. Next one is, if I use getTest, what this particular getTest method can do? GetTest method, if it is used with the keyboard, it is capable of reading the whole string or line of information, right? Similarly, fgetTest, right? It is capable of reading the set of characters, right? If you are giving a size of set to be block to be read, it is capable of reading size minus one information. Means if you tell that from a particular file, read 80 characters at a time, it can read 79 characters at a time, right? Look here, the function reads at most one less than number of the characters specified by the size, that is size minus 1 from the given stream. What is this stream? Stream is the file with which you are referring to. Okay, look here, with an example we will understand. FP is a pointer of type file. What am I opening? I am opening a abc.dat file, and since I am reading, I will use the mode as read here, right? The meaning is I am opening a file with name abc.dat in the read mode. Look here, unless I reach the end of the file, right? Unless I reach the end of the file, right? What has to be done? I need to get the information to a variable called as string, right? How much data is to be read? The size of the data is 80. So when I tell it is 80, it is capable of reading only size minus 1, means it is capable of reading 79 characters, right? From whom? From a file pointed by FP. Who is pointing FP? abc.dat is pointed by FP. Okay? Like this, when I print str, str will have the first 79 characters from the file pointed by FP, which is abc.dat. Next one, I can use get C function. I can use get C function. So the get C function was doing with the, whenever it is worked with the keyboard, it was capable of reading character by character. Similarly, F get C is capable of reading the character by character information but associated with the file pointer. Now get C was working with the standard input device, which is a keyboard. Now F get C is capable of reading individual character by character information with a file which is associated with a particular file pointer. Let us say I have opened the program .c in a read mode. Let us see, assume that FP is a pointer to a function, FP is a pointer to the file whose name is program.c. It is opened in the read mode, right? Then I said, since it reads the information character by character, ch is equal to F get C FP, means first character of the file is read here, right? So what I am telling is ch will have character by character from the file which is pointed by the FP here, right? So when we know that whenever we want to work with the character by character information, what is required? Definitely I will go with the looping statement. That is, I will start my information from ith location is equal to 0, right, until I read the 79 characters, and I have not reached the end of the file. What I should do? I should go on reading the content from the file and store it into the character array string here, right? So character array string here. So what I do? Initially the first character will be stored at the str at 0th location. Okay. So what I will do? F gets t dot fp. What it does? It reads the next character. Till what the loop will go on? The loop will go on for until this particular condition is true, that it has not reached the end of the file and I have read all the values from 0 to 79, right? So at the end, when the characters are read one by one, the last location, that is 78th location, will be appended by the /0, that is null character will be appended at the end. The next one, I can take the help of a fread function to read the content from the file. Okay, how this fread works is, it reads with a block of data defined by the size that is mentioned by the user. Look here, it reads the number of objects. Each objects will be defined by a particular size here. FP is a file pointer. It is pointing to a file called as letter.txt, and it is opened in a read write mode here, right? It is opened in a read write mode. What read will say is, from the file pointed by FP, read 10 chunks of data, and each data should be of 1 byte size, and store it in a variable str. Meaning is 10 objects of 1 byte information is read from the file pointed by FP. So since the size is 1 byte, we can summarize that it reads 10 characters from the file.